Hello, you wonderful people. So yesterday, the second trailer for Captain Marvel dropped. Obviously, if you have not seen it already, I'll include a link to it in the description down below. But basically, this is just me sharing my thoughts and theories about it. So first of all, we have more. I like what they did with this trailer in many different regards of, like, for one, whereas the first trailer, I guess, was more setup and kind of characterization a little bit. This is more plot heavy, I guess, in some regards. I also like how there's stuff from the first trailer that they implemented in this one. It's kind of like you got a little setup for certain things and you kind of got a little bit of continuation in other regards. So I thought that was pretty neat. Like, obviously we all kind of figured the old lady that was on the bus that Captain Marvel hits is obviously was probably going to be like a Skrull or whatever, but I like that they did that for the trailer and stuff like that still. But first thing to talk about is like the whole, like her whole situation in the movie, like what that all entails. I think is kind of interesting. Like, all the blue people should have been like, it didn't set off anything in my head to be like, all right, Kree, she's rolling with the Kree. It didn't, I don't know why, it didn't really correlate in my head like that. But what's interesting, it seems like basically the Kree found her and made her into a weapon, because she's all about like, oh, because Fury is like, oh, you're like some kind of hero. She's like, yeah, I'm a great like Kree warrior hero or hero warriors. I'm like, huh, that's funny hearing that about the Kree. I mean, obviously we, you know, over the course of the MCU, we've had our experience, but maybe this is supposed to be like, oh no, this is before they became who they are currently in the MCU. But at the same time, it's like, nah, it has to play with her story in the sense of like, it must be like a manipulation, because when they found her, she has no memory, and it's like, oh, we basically made you into what you are. Which I am curious about her whole deal, because it's like they're making it seem like they're the reason why she has the powers that she has, which I'm like, none of the Kree we've ever come across have ever had abilities like that. So I'm curious what that is. Like, it seems like whatever happened to Carol happened and it left her without her memories, or at the very least when the Kree found her, they wiped her memories so they could use her as this ultimate weapon in their army, which is kind of an interesting thing, because obviously she talks about the fact is that her past holds some secret to all of this, because that was the thing, like, because maybe it's something I misconstrued in the first trailer, because maybe it isn't as long in between as I thought it was. Like, maybe the time frame between her being on Earth and then whatever happening isn't that long. Maybe it's actually kind of short frame of time. It just made me assume, like, the fact is she's rolling with the Kree like that it had to have been a decent amount of time. And so I was thinking maybe everything that she can do, maybe it slowed down her aging. Maybe that'll be something we see potentially leading up to her popping up in Avengers. Like, the fact of the matter is she looks the same because she hasn't aged because of whatever her whole deal is. Because another interesting thing to think about with this whole situation, and it's not something I really thought about too much, but it's like, obviously we've seen the Kree be active in the MCU, like obviously television wise, but also within the movies too, because of the whole Ronin situation, which obviously he plays a part in this movie as well. I think there's even in this trailer you see him from behind, I think in one shot. We see that the Kree are still very active. Well, then what about the Skrull? Like, where have they been? Like, because it seems like she's here because she says like, I'm not here to fight your war, I'm here to end it. So the question is, like, obviously she finds out like she's being manipulated and controlled and being this weapon and everything, but I'm curious like how she handles this situation. That's ultimately like a big question too. Is like, why have we not seen the Skrull in all this time? Like, does whatever go down, whatever happens in Captain Marvel, does it lead to the destruction of the Skrull? Like, also there's the whole angle of like, what about the Super Skrull? How are we going to handle that situation? Because the Fantastic Four don't necessarily exist in this universe. Maybe the Super Skrull gets created in a different manner in this, or maybe that's something that pops up much later on. It's like we're introducing them now just because we can strategically use that pop up later, maybe in some shape or form. Because I mean, I'm curious, maybe like the Kree, I mean, there is the whole like peace treaty that kind of goes down later on, because that obviously, you know, gets broken and, you know, Guardians because of Ronin. But the thing is, you know, maybe she kind of helped set that in place and stuff like that. So maybe the Skrull were keeping up their end of the deal in that whole peace treaty situation. I don't know. I think this trailer did a good job of kind of like adding to what we'd already seen a little bit before, while also adding in new stuff. But I feel like we got to see her kind of use her powers a little bit more. Also, she went all badass in space. We're getting space fights, which is awesome. That looked amazing. Because we don't have any hero in the MCU that really does that. I mean, I guess arguably Thor might be able to do that, but obviously not to the extent she can, because she's literally blasting and destroying ships, which is like so freaking cool. I also didn't really think I guess because most times when I see her in her traditional outfit, because obviously she has a more like greenish teal suit that she's wearing in both like the first trailer and this trailer, and obviously there was bits in the first trailer where she was wearing a more traditional outfit. Like most often when I see her, like, because I'm not that familiar with Captain Marvel / Carol Danvers, so I'm not familiar with her character like that. But most times I've ever seen her wearing her outfit, she's never wearing the helmet. So I'm wondering, because obviously like she wore it in the first trailer with her original outfit, and she was like underwater. It kind of added a mask area to it. So I'm curious, is that how she's breathing in space, or does her powers generate kind of like a protective field that lets her kind of fight like that? I'm curious, like. It's such a minor thing that was just kind of making me wonder about that. Because like I said, it's like she's the first one we've seen like literally just powers alone fighting in outer space. Like other than that, we saw the Guardians, but that was such a ship and everything. And obviously we still have the big question too of like, okay, so what's going to go down in this movie that will eventually lead to her playing a major part in Avengers 4? Because I think I brought this up last time, or at the very least, I think I've referenced it in another video at some point in time. But from what I've heard from at least one person is that it seems like they are setting Captain Marvel up to be, at the very least right now, the most powerful person in the MCU. So I guess she's kind of, her mass power is supposed to be kind of like that deterrent from going forward. So maybe that's why Ronan was allowed to do what he's doing, just because she's not around to stop him, because whatever happens to her in this movie prevents her from kicking, like stepping in. So not unless it's a situation where it's like all her memories of all this get erased, and so we see her present day with no memory until like maybe, you know, when Fury tapped that symbol, it like reignited her memories about all the stuff that went down in Captain Marvel that she just doesn't remember it. Maybe, I don't know. That still would explain the whole like her aging slowly situation, if that ended up being the case, which it most likely isn't. Maybe she's cryogenically frozen somewhere. I don't know. Like I said, maybe she's kind of got like a Captain America thing going on, and that might be kind of how they introduced her into this whole situation. Because something else I had brought up before too is like, I wonder, like I'd assume maybe in some shape or form that this is connected to Thanos in some shape or form. Because obviously Ronan eventually goes to Thanos, but this is the events that are eventually probably going to lead him to go to Thanos for help when it comes to the whole events of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. I'd assume this has to have something to do with the Infinity Stones once again, because I said this before, but I'll reiterate it here, because it's like for him to call Captain Marvel, Fury in this case, to call Captain Marvel at this point in time after the events of the snap, it's like, what made you think to do that unless you knew something like that was potentially going to happen? Like, you know that this is like a much more serious event that you needed Captain Marvel. So it's like something in this movie has to go down related to the Infinity Stones and what they're capable of doing, as well as Thanos himself. Captain Marvel's situation is like her being a human and stuff like that. Why would the Kree do that otherwise? Like, 'cause it's like, I don't see them like taking a human and kind of do whatever. Like, it's like, oh, you're a human, we'll make you one of us. So that kind of feeds more into my thought of like, she was already the way she is right now, her powers and everything. They just erased her memory to make her into the perfect weapon for them, and making it seem like, oh, you have these powers because you're based on Kree technology, we did some stuff to you, you have amnesia, but you're one of us, you're a Kree warrior, just kind of controlling and manipulating her, like I brought up earlier. So that's still my thought process on it, but we'll have to wait and see. What I also think too is interesting is we haven't seen too much of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, obviously in the first trailer we saw Phil Coulson, and now like, and obviously, you know, the main focus is going to be Fury, but I don't know how much of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to operate in this, because we see him just, you know, by himself most of the time with Carol, so it makes you wonder about that. Because it also seems interesting because there's that whole little cat bit at the end where he's kind of like, wait, what? This sure ain't the Fury we know, so it makes you wonder all about that too, because once again, there's that whole situation of like, who in the MCU is a Skrull? It's like, it has to be Fury. Like, he had to have been left here. You know, maybe it's a Skrull who felt bad, maybe it got its memories wiped and it thinks it's the real Nick Fury, or maybe not. I don't know. Like, obviously this is going to be also leading to the whole, like, why he has the whole missing eye situation, potentially. But like I said, I was just curious whether or not S.H.I.E.L.D. would actually play, like, a bigger role in this movie or not. I mean, we are going back in time, so they could do a little more with it if they wanted to. So obviously these are just some of my thoughts and theories about what we could potentially see with all of this. Let me know some of yours in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good